Alright guys, I just wanted to show you my fancy new paper business cards I had made up right down here. Yeah, pretty nice, huh? You can see a better picture of those on my Facebook page. Links down below. Right up here at this place. Nice little print shop right around the corner from my house, from my apartment. They do good work, but it can depend on who you get to do your printing for you. With a language barrier, sometimes it's a little difficult to explain to them what you want and why. Of course, I have single eyes, so it's easier for me. But still, I usually get my point across. Usually just point at the document on my phone from Google Docs. I'll point to one and say 10, point to the other one and say 10. 10, 10. And that's all I want, 20 copies. I do want to touch on some things here that some people have been experiencing. When you first move to a new country, there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of excuse me, a lot of cultural adjustments, a lot of amenities you would have back home that you will not be able to find here easily. It's like that if you move to any country, but in a developing country such as Cambodia, it makes it even that much more difficult sometimes to assimilate into the culture. So I do want to mention some things that if you're over here, I know some people have already been experiencing, or if you're thinking about moving here, some things you might want to keep in mind. There is really no timetable for adjustments, I guess you could say. There's no universal timetable attached to that for everybody. Some people will fit right in quicker, and some might take a few more months. And it's not that one is better or one is worse than the other. It all depends on the individual and how they see things, how they do things, and how they deal with things that are different. And everyone will be different in that aspect. So the things you should be aware of, and I've touched on all of these subjects in previous videos, but I figured I'd give you an update. Just some heads up kind of stuff. Once again, the heat. I'll mention that first. The heat can be pretty overwhelming, especially if you're not used to either the weather being hot all year round, like from where I'm from in Michigan. We have about 6 months of cold weather, 6 months of warmer weather. So when you live in an environment like that, and no matter how hot it gets on certain summer days, you can say, well, in a few months I'm going to be wearing jeans and a jacket. Have to start breaking out your winter gear soon after. Over here you won't experience any of that. When it's a really, really hot day, you don't have the mindset of, well, tomorrow might be, might drop 10, 15 degrees, because that's not going to happen. It's going to be hot all the time, every day. There are days when it's cooler, but it will never get what you would think of as cold. And the heat sometimes gives people a lot of issues. And it kind of blends into the other thing, which is, you know, you're going to have a case of the screaming ass goblins every once in a while here. Your body is going to be trying to reject the bacteria that it's not used to from the food you eat. And everybody at some point will get sick. It will. It might be your stomach, it might be diarrhea, it might be general malaise and all that good stuff. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. You know, all that stuff. And it's miserable when it happens. It's happened to me 3 or 4 times. And I know, you know, 2 or 3 days at a time, you're like down and out. And that kind of ties into the heat, because when you feel that way and you have to go get some kind of medicine or something, or something to drink because you want to stay hydrated, walking around in the heat when you're feeling like that exasperates the issue. Makes it feel much worse than what it might actually be. And I'm glad my buddy Bill, he posted this. He got advice from one of his buddies at the local, which is a bar on my street, a drinking establishment. And it's a really good point as far as making friends here. Well, most people at some point leave. And so you don't necessarily form close personal bonds with people here that you would back home. Because after a while, you realize that no matter how close you get to somebody, eventually they're probably going to leave. So you don't feel the need to invest heavily in a friendship that's going to wind up, you know, not being there anymore, maybe in a couple, 3 months, for whatever reason. And I never really thought about that. But when I look back on all the people I have met here that I consider friends here, so many have left for whatever reason to go back to their home countries, or, you know, go on to another country. And so that makes perfect sense. If you're a very social creature and you like having a tight-knit group of friends, you know, you might want to reconsider not coming to this part of the world, because people will leave. They will, I'm not going to say abandon you, because it's, you know, they have different reasons and it's their life. But they'll eventually leave, most of them, not all of them. And you'll have to try to do that all over again. So after a while, the expats that have been here come to realize it's better just not to get too close to people. You can be friendly with people without actually becoming, you know, close friends, because then when they leave, you'll just wait for the next person to show up. That kind of thing. And I know that sounds weird, and it sounds like, oh, that sounds like a terrible way to live, but it's just the reality. And it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just the way it is. Usually about 3 months in, I've mentioned this before, usually it's about 3 months in, somewhere in there, where the honeymoon phase is over. All the good and bad up to that point, you've overcome some bad things, you learned some things you really love here. But eventually, most of the time it hits people that they just get downright homesick. No matter how many things they love about this country or the place they choose to live, they just want to go back home. They miss their friends, they miss their old lifestyle, they miss the amenities, they you know, all different kinds of things. And that's why I think that's about when the majority of people will choose to leave, because they can't overcome that feeling of homesickness. That's usually when they'll bail on the country and go back home and leave you without a friend. But it is the way it is. I am not a what I would say a strong man. I'm not. I think I'm mentally tough, but I'm not really strong. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not. So what I'm going to say is not a brag. It's just, again, a reality. And that is, I've never experienced that homesickness phase that so many seem to go through. Once I left on that plane from Grand Rapids, Michigan, I've never looked back. I've never thought about going home. I never considered it an option, even if things went horribly for me here. And I have not been homesick. There are things I miss about home, some of the amenities, but I never thought about it and went, oh, these are the reasons why I need to go home now. I've always thought about them and went, well, I can't get them here, no sense dwelling on them, and put it out of my head. I think I'm mentally tough that way, but like I said, I'm not strong. There are moments where you think, oh, I wish I could be doing this. Oh, I wish I could hang out with this person. Oh, I wish I could eat at this restaurant. And everybody's going to have moments like that, I think, no matter how long you live in a place. But it's not enough to make me actually think I miss my home so much that I need to abandon my plans here and move back. That's never happened to me. But here's the thing, it does happen for the majority of people. It's actually one of the things, the TEFL course I took taught us more than just how to teach English. They had whole sessions and live webinars dealing with different aspects of teaching English abroad, including cultural differences, the homesickness. They dealt with all that, told us to prepare for it, taught us different things we could do to lessen that feeling when it showed up, because like they said, most people is going to happen to 95% of people. They're going to get somewhere 3 months later, it just hits really hard, they go home. So they told us different ways to prepare for that. One other reason why I really would recommend the International TEFL Academy if you're looking to get your TEFL. Yeah, so maybe that was partly why I've never had that. But mostly I think it was just because I was completely tired of my lifestyle back in the United States. I can't remember the last time I liked a job I had. It was just every day getting up, regretting my decision to get out of bed. The only thing I looked forward to was 8 hours later when I could leave. And then I would come home and just hold myself up in my room in my apartment. Watch TV, play video games, surf the internet. And that's not really much of a life. So I remember all that and tell myself, and now I'm out here, I'm walking around, I'm meeting new people, I'm experiencing new foods and new things. Some of those things are not going to work out. That happens. And when that happens, you just try different things. It's easy. That's why I don't complain much about the food here. Even if I do get a bad meal, there are, 10 or 20 more places where I can get the same meal that's going to be fantastic. That's why when I do come across a bad one, I don't complain, or I don't feel the need to bash them on Facebook. I'm just like, hey, I can go 2 doors down, get the same dish I had here, and they'll make it correctly and delicious. So I think I got into a bit of a ramble there. Anyway, those are just some of the things you should be aware of before you come over here. Or if you're already over here and you're experiencing those things, just remember, this too shall pass. Like everything else in life. In the end, we're all going to be dead. And the only thing that's going to matter right before you die are the things you did, not the things you wished or hoped or wanted to do that you never got around to. So if it works out or it doesn't, at least you tried. And I think that's something good. All right, I'm going to end this one here. I rambled on long enough. I will talk to you guys in the next one.